Asia Pacific is rethinking its built environment to become more resilient and climate ready, a crucial shift since buildings generate 25 to 40% of their region's emissions. Joining us to break down what this transformation requires are Kamya Miglani from JLL and Karan Sinsinwar from ACOM. Welcome, Kamya and Karan. Let's begin with the role. What role does digital technology play in accelerating net zero goals in the built environment?
Can think of digital technologies like brains behind sustainable buildings. They make buildings smarter and more efficient by cutting waste during the whole design process. We can then plan layouts and materials better so that less material is wasted. Uh, it can also help in automating operations. For example, think of systems which can adjust lighting, cooling automatically to save energy. Also, nowadays we can make digital copies of real building, commonly called as digital twins. So these twins let engineers test changes, optimize energy use without touching the actual building. All the Internet of Things AI can predict problems before they happen and schedule equipment to run when renewable energy is available. So by embedding all these digital capabilities like autonomous space planning, clash detection, so on and so forth, we are transforming the design and delivery workflows. And in some cases, cutting material waste by up to 20% and reducing engineering time by as much as 90%.
Digital solutions that allow for energy tracking, for emissions measurement, for identifying retrofitting potential, they form the core of meeting compliance and carbon targets for the corporates. According to JLL's latest technology research, 92% of corporates in APAC are already currently piloting AI solutions within their CRE function. And one of the top three use cases of this AI solutions is actually energy management. We have also found, if we flip the coin towards investors this time, we have also found that 60% of investors are actively monitoring energy efficiency metrics, and two in third are planning to invest in smart building, upgrade smart building technologies within the next 5 years. So I wouldn't be wrong in saying that market is moving beyond certifications, performance data, and real-time digital tools.
But what's holding us back? What challenges still limit adoption of low carbon and circular economy practices?
We do see headwinds persisting, especially because of economic uncertainty, limited asset supply of net zero carbon buildings, and perceived high retrofitting costs, which then slow down the decision making for many investors and building owners. One of the key barriers, which has been highlighted in our technology research, is that 6 in 10 corporates highlight that they lack a clear vision of their digitization pathway. Second is cybersecurity and data quality concerns, which are highlighted by 1 in 2 corporates. And the third big challenge is skilled workforce shortage. Now, if we take a more asset level risk profile, the obsolescence risk is also front and mind for stakeholders. 44% of investors rank it as their topmost portfolio concern, but only 1 in 4 mention that they have implemented any kind of climate adaptation measure, even though we know that physical risk today is escalating faster than ever.
Many older buildings weren't designed for energy efficiency back in the day. So bringing them up to the modern sustainability standards can be expensive and complicated. And we are seeing that in a couple of our projects. The second challenge that I can think of is the perceived high upfront cost. Even locally in Singapore, we have government grants for installing energy efficient items, newer ventilation systems. Sometimes these can be costly for small scale developers. So the perception of sustainability as an expensive investment remains still a major hurdle for a circular economy practice. Couple of other challenges could be related to material. So locally, low carbon building materials are often imported, which makes projects even more expensive and it can add to the delays. And local options are limited here. And lastly, I can think of is the consumer demand, which is quite low. Many buyers don't yet prioritize sustainable buildings or low carbon development. So the developers, they lack strong market pressure to go green.
But out of all the changes needed, what policy changes are most critical to support greener infrastructure at scale?
I come from sustainability consulting background, so I can definitely recommend that we should be strengthening the green building codes and standards even more, mandating higher energy performance standards for new buildings and existing buildings is a must. Locally in Singapore, we already require new buildings to be 50% more energy efficient than the 2005 levels. And similar policies needs to be scaled across Southeast Asia. One good example that I can think of is by Building Construction Authority in Singapore. They have introduced mandatory energy improvement, MEI regime, which has been effective since September this year. Another thing that I can think of is that locally Singapore is leading with progressive carbon taxation. It is going to rise year on year. And across Southeast Asia, similar frameworks needs to be developed and implemented. Currently, around 2 out of the 10 countries in Southeast Asia have carbon pricing, and 5 are developing carbon registries. So expanding the carbon markets will make sustainable projects more bankable.
So I would say that in some pockets in Asia, policy is really rapidly moving from being a voluntary commitment to mandatory performance. Singapore's mandatory energy improvement regime and the ISSB aligned reporting standards are set to further rise the standards across APAC on corporate sustainability reporting. Regulations are also driving demand for not just green certificates, but at asset level energy and emissions data. So that will create an authentic operational performance, which will become the new compliance metrics really. Incentives and guidelines for retrofitting, upgrading legacy systems, installing renewables are becoming really essential in closing the demand supply gap for truly sustainable assets in the region.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights, Kamya and Karan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Once again, those were Kamya Miglani, Head of Work Dynamics Research for Asia Pacific at JLL, and Karan Sensenwar, Sustainability Lead at AECOM Singapore. For more news, visit realestateasia.com.